All right, cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're here at the top of the hour. Welcome to the Referral Mastermind Call, where we're going to talk about getting referrals from our past clients and sphere of influence. And this is an open session. We're going to try something new today where we just open up and everybody participates and shares their ideas and their contribution. If you have questions, you're running into a challenge or a concern, share it with the group. And let's find out what the group mastermind has to say about it to get some answers for us. Before we start into that, does anybody have any successes that they would like to share with the group? Did you receive any referrals during this last week? Now, when you come in, by the way, everybody's muted. And when you're not talking, please mute yourself. But to talk, go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know. So if you have a success story, anything you have that you'd like to share about getting a referral in, say, the last week or the last month, or even, let's say, the last year, something you thought was pretty cool and you'd like to share, please go ahead and share that with the group. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Hey, Dave, are you got something to share with us? Hey, I can't hear you, Dave. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can. Hey, Dave, nice to see you.
Okay. So first off, let me make a comment. Just a comment. I like your thing, right? I've been watching for a couple of years, and that's why I'm doing the monthly thing and all that stuff, right?
Cool.
Okay, I have just a small question for you, and then I have a comment about the referrals, right?
Sweet.
Have you ever heard of Craig Proctor?
Oh yeah, Craig's a great guy. He's been around a long time.
Good. Okay, good. So, so me, I've been involved 35 years in real estate, right?
Right.
And I always have, like, I know you should ask for referrals, but I always have a hard time with it because I'm afraid that, like, okay, Craig Proctor says whenever they're the happiest, when they sign, ask for the referral, right? Most, I don't know about everybody. For me, I don't push my luck. I've already got a deal here. I don't want to, And the other thing I find that, I'm in Canada, in Toronto, right?
Sure.
And so if I ask Joe Blow, hey, Joe, do you know anybody that wants to sell a house? He said, how much you want to pay? That's what he says. And I say, hey, Joe, have you got a license? No. Well, if you have a license, I'll gladly pay 25%, right? But you don't have a license? Oh, I'm sorry, but that's illegal, Joe. I can't do that. I'm sorry about that. So have a nice day.
Right.
Because everybody thinks real estate, well, I mean, okay, yes, we make a pretty good dollar for a deal, but what they don't realize, they don't do that many deals usually, right?
And all the work that goes into that transaction to get it to the closing and all the way from the beginning to the end, to be around and available for people. Yeah, you're correct. You've been doing this a long time, as you know. So that's a really good point. Let's do this. Again, I want to do this in a mastermind format. So let's put up to the group. So Dave's asked us a great question here. He's basically asked, how do we ask for referrals from our past clients and sphere of influence? He mentioned that one of the opportunities of time to do that is right after the closing or at the closing table.
Oh, no, not the closing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's when most of us do it, at the closing.
All right.
To do it at the time they sign the listing or they sign the offer, right?
Right. So at the listing agreement, the buyer agency, or the under contract, when they're the happiest with you. I think that's
exactly
right?
Perfect. That's exactly what he said. Yeah.
Perfect.
And also they got the reciprocating thing going. So when people are selling a house, they're telling everybody, or people are telling them, they're in that mood. And then other people maybe in the mood, right? But once you get through all that stress and close the deal, they don't talk about it anymore because it's too much headache, right?
Sure. That's a really good point. So let's ask the group, is there a perfect time or an opportune time to ask for the referral? And if so, how do you go about it? So anybody who would like to participate, go ahead and unmute yourself and answer the question for Dave and I. When do you think is the best time to ask for a referral? And what script do you use if you do that? Or how do you approach it? What do you do? So anybody who would like to participate, again, it's open. I'd love to hear from everybody. We got a lot of smart people. Like we got Dave here, 35 years. I know we got a lot of talented people out there. So Don't be shy. Go ahead and let us know what you think.
I started when I was a baby, by the way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you started when you were 1. Yeah. All right. Well, let me see. I got to let people in. I'm trying to figure out this whole system here. So, all right. If anybody has any comments they'd like, go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know. In the meantime, Dave and I will just go back and forth and chat a little bit about this topic until someone else chimes in. I think it's a great question. And of course, the idea of trying to find that perfect time to ask for the referral, it would be awesome if they just had a big R on their head and it said, hey, ask me about a referral, right? I like the idea of asking when they're in the best mood. What are your odds of making that happen, though? I'm not sure. I do like the idea of asking when they sign up, be under contract, right? Or excuse me, at the listing, the buyer agency signature, or if they've happily just negotiated the contract. I think you're going to get your best results then. But I don't think you should limit yourself to that. I think you need to have a consistent program of asking for these referrals, either orally, verbally, or through your mediums, your marketing mediums that you're asking and requesting it. Go ahead.
Actually, I just thought of something.
Great. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm with you now. I'm going to list your house, right?
Sure.
And so let's just say I'm going to charge 5%. And you said, well, you know what? Joe Blow came in and everybody came in. And they said 4.5, whatever. Can you do better than that? And I said, I'll tell you what I can do. Okay. If you give me 3 or 4 referrals that lead to a sale, then I'll give you 500 for every one you give me. So if you give me 10, you want a paying commission. How's that?
Sure. Well, let's walk through that, Dave. That's an interesting question. And I'm gonna go back to what you mentioned earlier, which is we can't give a referral fee to someone who doesn't have a license. And so our client that we're hiring that's hiring us at that time, I'm assuming they don't have a license. So you kind of get into a gray area if you're going to do that way.
No. If I'm listing your house, I can list your house at 3%, 4%, 5%.
That's correct.
Right? There's no fixed commissions, right?
Right.
So if I say to you, okay, listen, I can give you some money, but it's not really like I'm just going to make an adjustment at the closing, right? Like you gave me 4 referrals, they're good referrals, everything. So at closing, I'm going to give 2,000 off. You'll see it on the lawyer statement, right?
Right. And let me put this out there too, Dave. You're in Canada. We're down here in the United States.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a law called RESPA. I'm not sure what your law is and how it works as far as referrals.
What's it called?
Ours is called RESPA, R-E-S-P-A.
Okay.
Yeah. Real Estate Settlement and Procedures Act, 1972 or 74. I can't remember the year, somewhere in the early 70s.
Okay.
And basically what our law says, it's a federal law, is that we cannot trade a closing for a referral fee. So you're trading a referral for a closing. That's why I say it might be in a gray area down here that might be a possibility. I just think it gets in kind of a weird area when you start doing compensation for the referral.
Okay, but what about this? Forget about referrals. Okay.
Okay.
So you're going to buy a house for $500,000. Let's just say, okay, and you're willing to pay $500,000, but there won't come down until 505. So it's 5,000 split, right? So I say to that agent, I said, listen, these guys are pretty dug in. We'd rather have a little bit less and have a deal. So are you willing to give up 2,500? I'll give up 2,500 and we'll make it a deal. Like
So that's a different point, right? That's
nothing to do with referral.
Negotiation with the other agent. The listing agent, they're the buyer agent. And so that's not in the realm of this mastermind of talking about referrals. But so I'll just put it on that one. I'll just say, hey, that's negotiating through a transaction, whether you want to pitch in or not. I'll tell you my own personal answer on that, and we'll move on. After all the closings I did, over 1,000 transactions, I never, ever gave any of my commission to anyone. That's just my policy. My policy was the 2 parties need to work it out. And if
Right.
they can work it out, I'm going to do everything I can to help them do that, but I'm never going to put my compensation into the pot.
Okay.
And I always had other agents. I say always, but often I would have other agents try that. And I understood and appreciated what they were trying to do. But I always say, I won't do that. And guess what? Those deals always closed. They always closed because the parties worked it out, right?
Okay, let me just ask you a question about that. Okay, let's go. Same example, right?
Sure.
5,000 apart. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that
Yeah.
you won't give a penny of commission. So in other words, if the buyer doesn't give up, the seller doesn't give up, or the other agent give up,
Yep.
we're gonna throw the deal away.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that's what I said. And I'm just a guy who I just did it my way. Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't have to do it that way.
Mhm.
But you asked my opinion, and that's my answer.
Okay.
Other people would answer differently. I know of agents that do throw in things. It just was not my policy.
Okay.
Let's go back to your referral question, your idea of should we contribute? I see somebody trying to get in. There we go. Should you contribute? You were talking about at the time you were getting the listing, reducing your commission for a number of referrals, like $500 per referral. I think that's an interesting idea. But again, I think it gets in the gray area. Another way that you might want to approach that is, and by the way, if anybody has any comments here, please feel free to throw in. You know, Dave and I are having fun kicking back here, but feel free to add to the conversation. My thought there is this. Instead of making it, I understand what you're doing. Logically, it makes sense. But again, I get nervous when I get into any kind of compensation per referral. And I'm also worried about a few things. I'm worried about training my people that I'm going to pay them for referrals. I'm worried that if they're going to now tell all their friends that they got a break or discount off my commission, which I'd be concerned about, because especially you're working referrals, you're working in a small group, they're going to be talking.
Okay.
And so another way to do it might simply be, hey, tell you what, well, first of all, I think Craig Proctor's answer would be on the commission one. Let's talk about that at the end. When I get you a buyer, we actually get you to a closing rather than at the beginning. So let's set up my commission now. And if you want to talk about that later when we get to the end, I'm happy to chat with it. I think that's how he pushes that one off. It's been a while since I listened to Craig on that, but the way that I would try to wrap it up, if you wanted to, or you were willing to reduce your commission at the listing, which again, I'm kind of opposed to, but let's just follow that for a minute, because I know it's a very hot market out there.
Okay.
You might say, and you really want this listing, and they're being reasonable on the price, and they're motivated, all things are lining up. You might say, okay, tell you what, instead of doing X, I'll do X minus, you give them the rate. You say, and because I'm doing such a great job for you, and now I'm losing some income, maybe you could refer someone to me if I do a good job. Would you agree to that? And you try to get that, just an agreement.
In other words, give it on face.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Because what you really wanted was the listing. You're just trying to get a bonus of a referral.
But Mike, that was just an idea. That was an idea. But I want to tell you a real example. This is real life. Okay.
Fire away.
I'll give you a name. All right?
Oh, don't give me any names. Let's just
no. It's not no last name. Okay. It's okay. Oscar. His name's Oscar. Good. Okay. He's down in the basement, right? A house, right? Obviously, and I'm down there too. He brings me down in the basement. He says, "You know what? I got some good news. I got some bad news, or whatever. Like I got some deals for you, right? How much you want to pay me?" Right? Yeah. And I told him what I told you. That's the truth, right? I mean, yeah. So guess what? You know what happened? Some agent doesn't care about their license. They don't care about the license because they must have done it because I lost about 4 or 5 deals off that, right? Because that's
going to happen occasionally.
But his wife, right? Yeah. His wife's name's Faye, and they had brother and sister, right? And they bought a house, a starter house, and then they bought a bigger house. So it's 4 deals,
right?
That if I would have, negotiated and give a cash deal or something like that, maybe I could have got it. I don't know.
Maybe. We don't know for sure because it didn't go all the way to the end.
Right.
Maybe if they were that kind of party, I don't know anything about that, they would have cut you out before you ever got to the end, or they would have handed it off to somebody else, or I don't know. I don't know the truth. That's why I say I like to run a principle-based business. all my businesses. So I just have these rules in my head that I do this, I don't do that. I do this, I don't do that. Like I don't discount my commission. I know that sounds weird. I know a lot of agents do, and I have in the past, but then I created this policy. I'm not doing that anymore because it burned me, right? So I don't discount my commission. I don't renegotiate at the end. I've had people do that, right? We have a fast closing. You might have had this right now in this market, right? You get a really fast closing and the seller comes to you and says, man, that was so easy. You ought to reduce your commission. I'm sorry, I don't do that. You know, what kind of work do you do? And you ask them what they do. You say, if you did a really amazing job, does your client or whoever you're working with ask for a discount? I hope not, because you did a great job. So I did a great job too. Anyway, those are some policies. Let's go into more referral questions. Dave, what percentage of your business is referral?
Okay. In the last year is the worst year I ever had. Okay. Yeah. These are all my wife's in-laws. Okay. Now, a different person who is a little bit ruthless, let's just say, I could have done it for her for less, and she got a stranger, right? I have a brother-in-law, right, who I helped. I went to the airport. I brought him. He lived in our house, helped him with everything. I was going to sign for his first deal, and they bought 2 houses without me. Wow. Needless to say, and me and my wife have a problem with that right now, right? Because I said, these people, we try to help, they spit in our face, okay? If you want to embrace them, go ahead, but I'm not. I don't want to know them, right?
So why do you think that happened?
Oh, she said, no, okay, I'm going to answer that question directly, okay? She just came, like, he came for 3 years, right? And she came as an immigrant, brand new immigrant. No job, no, like everything, right? So the deal is the mortgage company said, Dave, if you will sign and he will sign, he has a job, then we'll do the deal. But, you know, no credit is same as bad credit, right?
They wanted you to co-sign on a loan and you wouldn't do it. Is that what happened?
No. I offered to. I offered.
Oh, wow.
No. But I'm gonna answer. Let me answer your question. His wife, till this day, that was 20 years ago. Till this day, thinks I squeezed her out of the deal.
Yeah. So these are history problems. These are personal issues, and there's not a lot you can do with this other than try to mend the relationship. So you're giving me a lot of kind of what I would call unique situations.
Yeah.
And
story of my life.
You can't win them all.
Yeah.
And so
I'd like to win some.
Of course, you want to win some, or you want to win the majority even. But just keep in mind, you're not going to win all of them. And that's why, again, I go back to that idea of the principles that I follow. And then I'm okay with when things fall out one way or the other. Anyway, I hope that helps a little bit, Dave. And it's been fun chatting with you. Let me just open this up a little bit for a second, Dave, because I know you and I are monopolizing this, and I want it to be open. Does anybody here have any comments or questions or concerns or things that you would like the mastermind to play on and ask a question or a challenge that we could all play with? Go ahead. Jacqueline,
hey, Mike, this is Brian Jackson.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Are you talking to me, Jacqueline?
Jacqueline, hi. Hi, did you have a question for the group?
Oh, yeah. I just wondered about people who, how to get the deal closed. Like, I can get leads. That's fine. And people aren't loyal because of the market, I guess. But I'm just wondering how to get those converted leads, get those leads to the closing table without them. I'm worried from contract to close, really. Actually, from contact to close, I'm worried about whether anybody will be loyal, and they're not many times. And even if I have a signed agreement, they will move on. They will go to another agent. So I don't know how to create a relationship where they feel obligated to stay with me.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions. And again, this is a referral mastermind call, but I'll open up since we haven't been getting referral questions. So let's try to answer this. So it sounds to me like you're getting leads and you're trying to figure out how to convert them. or you're trying to figure out you're working with them already and you're trying to keep them loyal all the way to the end? Which one is it?
Very good. Okay. It is actually both. So I can get leads, and most times they're qualified. Most times they're qualified. And because they're qualified, they know the value of themselves. They know their value, right? And sometimes they will not sign an exclusive list of
a buyer agency agreement. Are these all buyers?
It's all buyers. I don't want buyers anymore. I really don't. I really want listings, but I'm chicken right now. So that's why I'm listening to you, so I can be encouraged and get engaged with that. Yeah. So right now I'm working with what I got, right? And that's buyers, potential buyers. So yeah, I'm having trouble, even if they sign an exclusive buyer's agreement with me, they still are not.
Okay, I'm going to give you a couple answers. A couple quick thoughts. And again, anybody in the mastermind who has some thoughts, please unmute yourself and throw out. But I'm going to give you a couple quick thoughts first. And that is, when you're working with buyers, you need to create a loyalty pledge. That was the thing we did in the old days. And basically, at the very beginning, you're going to have a chat with them about what your services are and how you're going to help them. You're creating your value proposition at that time. This is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to help you to achieve your goal. And by the way, before you can do that, you have to ask them you have to do this needs analysis. You have to ask what they're trying to accomplish, and then you're going to lay down you're going to repeat that back to them and say, okay, I can help you accomplish that. Here's the process we're going to do. But in order for us to do that, I need one thing, and that is for you to be loyal to me, and I'm going to be loyal to you throughout this process so we can get this done. Is that okay with you? A lot of agents in the old days before buyer agency, that's all they would do, and that they could get that agreement, the mental agreement, and everything worked out. And then buyer agency came in. I love buyer agency. I did it all the time. And I would then memorialize that loyalty in a document. It was very easy after you explained all of your advantages and what they're going to get, and help them achieve their goal. And I would have them sign a buyer agency. But I always knew that they could terminate that buyer agency in half a second. In fact, I wrote into it that they could, because the document, all contracts are based on the trust of the parties. Right? Buyer agencies, listing agreements, even our regular contract to buy and sell in most states, the buyer can walk out in the first week or two or whatever with that inspection clause. And so it's all based on trust. All agreements are. And so you want to get down to that trust level first. And then I would memorialize it with a buyer agency, although you don't have to. I think what's happening and why they're leaving is they don't see the value in what you're providing to them. And you need to do a good job of defining that and do a buyer consultation before you start showing properties. Some of the top agents, what they'll do is they'll do one showing on one property just to start the relationship, but they will not do a second showing until after they've gone through the needs analysis, got the loyalty pledge in place and or buyer agency, and then they'll start working with them. And one final thought, and that is the market's super hot right now. It's not going to be that way forever. You're probably already seeing things change. So hang in there. Buyers are going to be just as good as sellers over time. And that's what I got for you. Jacqueline, what do you got in response to that?
I resonate. That resonates with me. I feel like you were with me, because that's exactly what is happening with me, because I keep showing. I just keep showing. Even if they say like, oh, we don't want to assign an agent. I'm thinking eventually they're gonna know I'm a good agent, and I'm showing, and I'm listening to them, and I'm doing what they say. They are dragging me by the nose, we'll say.
The collar, yeah.
Right. And I'm at their mercy. And so I don't want to run my business like that. I don't want to run.
Are you a new agent?
I am not a new agent. What I am is a scared agent.
I'm sorry, how long?
It's been 15 years, but this market, what I am is a scared agent. I'm afraid that, and I run that. I know that. I recognize that that's how I'm running scared, because I see everybody else is listing, and I need to be doing that too. But buyers need people too. Like, it used to be easy. Like, buyers used to be the thing. Like, bam, you got a buyer, you got to sell. But now, yeah, it's not so much.
So Jacqueline, just a quick thought. You're new. You're not new. If you were new, I was going to say it's not bad because you're getting experience, but you are experienced. Right. So you really need to be more definitive on what your principles are. And I'm going to open this up for a minute to the rest of the group. I think Dave, for instance, has a comment. Let's hear what Dave has to say on this.
Okay, Jacqueline, I'm going to give you the old days and the new days, right? In the old days, we say buyers are liars, right? And if you got a buyer, you have to sleep with them. I don't mean like that. I mean, you have to stay with them 24 hours a day until they either tell you to get lost or they buy something, right? But in the new days, right? In the new days, unless it is a referral from a very close friend or a past client, maybe I would do it without a buyer's contract. Without that, I wouldn't do it at all. Won't even show them anything, nothing. I mean, we can talk about it, but if they're not going to sign, and the reason I'll say it is because, look, if, in the United States, a lot of lawsuits, right? Lawsuits. There's 3 ways you can become a millionaire in the United States, right? The lottery, lawsuit, and I can't remember the third one. Inheritance, I think it is, right? Okay. So if someone is suing you, Jacqueline, do you want your own lawyer, or do you want to work with the lawyer that's suing you? Which one do you want to work with? Right?
Oh my God! Right? Yes. Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents worth.
It's beautiful. Okay.
Jacqueline, I'll throw one other idea in here real quick, and that is, and Dave just brought it up, the source of the lead is interesting as well. If you work more with referrals from past clients and sphere of influence, you're going to have a stronger relationship with those people. They're less likely to burn you, although Dave mentioned them earlier, that can happen, but they're less likely to burn you because of the emotional relationship you have with them. And I'd also mention, you've been doing this for 15 years. In your database, if you start working that database of past clients and sphere of influence, I bet you there are a lot of people that you either help buy or already own a home that need to sell or will sell, and you're going to be able to pull listings out of that group. And those past clients and sphere of influence, they're just the easiest people to work with on the whole. So those are the 2 advices I have for you is 1, start working or focusing more on the repeat and referrals, and 2, create that value proposition that you can present to that buyer at the beginning and walk through the loyalty pledge. And if their eyes aren't lighting up, and if they're not willing to sign, that's a sign to you that you should be running for the hills and finding a new buyer to work with. Does that make sense? Oh, Jacqueline, are you still with us? Oh, unmute yourself if you want to say anything, Jacqueline.
Sorry, yes, I lost connection and I had to do a walkabout, so I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I missed a little bit last bit. But yeah, I kind of get the gist of it. I appreciate that, but I missed the last 30 seconds.
No problem. I'll throw that out again real fast. And that is, if you work with repeat and referrals, your probability of success goes up. You're going to have a tighter relationship with them. And I also think you're going to find more listings. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, if you go out there and you work with buyers, be sure to create that value proposition and walk through it with them in some kind of buyer consultation, whether you do it absolutely off the top or after maybe 1 showing with 1 property. You can have a 1 showing policy where you'll show them 1 just to build the relationship. But that's it. After that, you won't work with them again unless they sign a buyer, unless they go through the buyer console. Remember, it's not so much the buyer agency. It's the presentation of your value and getting them to agree emotionally to work with you. Does that make sense?
I see.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. I hope that helped. Let's see, we got time for another. Do we have someone else who would like to participate in this referral mastermind? Any question or challenge you're experiencing, or a success that you've had with referrals that you would like to share with the group? If you do, go ahead and unmute yourself and throw it out there, and let's kind of talk
Oh, he's
about it
doing
together.
that. Yeah, I appreciate you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to transition myself. This is my plan. This is why I listened to you in the first place. I'm just going to transition myself to listings. And that's what I really want to do. And I won't be as frustrated as I am.
I like that idea. Just keep in mind that there's two parts to the market. And so you can balance yourself heavier one way or the other, but you can't eliminate all buyers. For instance, you're going to be working with some buyers, but what you're trying to do is push maybe 60-40, where it's 60% sellers to 40%. And in my career, that's what I was. I was 60 to 70% sellers, and then the rest were buyers. Because if you get the listings, the buyers come to you and they're more excited, typically the old days of a sign call or your advertisement.
Right.
But again, to do that, let me just ask the question. Have you created your database of past clients in sphere of influence yet?
So there, okay, no.
Right. Yeah, and that's okay. Well, most agents I've talked to over the last year and a half have not done it, which shocks me, but I understand it, because I didn't do it right away either. I understand. I talked to an agent a while back. He'd closed 2,000 transactions in his career, a long, lengthy career, and he didn't have a database. So sometimes people, we get so good at hunting, we forget to farm, right? We're always out there hunting, and we forget this easy business of the farming, but it takes a little time to cultivate. So we're always out there hunting. My recommendation is you go and you do the research, maybe an hour a day at night or in the morning or sometime, and you start building that database back up, and then start reaching out to those folks. And I can tell you there's going to be a ton of great listings in there that are going to be a lot easier to get than calling for sell by owners and expireds, all the other ways we go after business of people we don't know, which I built my career on. But boy, it's so much easier to work with people that already know, like, and trust you, right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Again, you betcha. I hope that helped. All right, who else? Do we have any other people that would like to throw out some ideas? This has been a lot of fun. I hope everybody else is enjoying this. Anybody else have a repeater referral question or success story that you'd like to share with the group?
Mike, this is Brian Jackson.
Hey, Brian.
How are you?
Hey, it's good to hear from you.
Good. Appreciate you putting this on. Question I have is, as I listen to your podcast and just different, videos I watch on real estate, what you were saying about referrals earlier is that that's really should be our goal as a real estate agent, to get our business to a point where a majority of our business are referrals, right? Because the other piece of it, farming or Zillow leads or whatever, is just a lot more work. And we want to try to be as efficient as possible. So just in your experience with some of these top realtors, what would you say, you're big on databases, which I have one, and I think that's very smart to do. But what would you say within that database of past clients should we set a goal for every year? The percentage of transactions should come from those people. Does that make sense?
It does. It's a great question, Brian. Thank you for bringing that. And I call that the referral productivity percentage. I changed the name slightly, but I still like it. And I'm going to come back to that. I first want to answer something you brought up real quick. And that is the way my vision of the business has changed over the years. And again, after talking to so many top performers, it's something I did not have in the early days and wish I would have had earlier. So I'm going to want to share it. And that is, you've got the most valuable asset for any real estate agent is your database of these past clients and sphere of influence, and in particular the past clients, because they've proven they'll work with you and they hopefully enjoyed the experience. They're most likely to refer out of anyone because they've already experienced your service. And so what these top agents do as far as a mindset is when they go out and they work with a Zillow person or geographic farming you mentioned, or FSBO or expired or door knocking or internet lead of any kind, when they're pulling these leads in, their goal is this: I want to build a relationship with this person and turn them into a past client that I can add to my past client database. That part at the end was the most important. I want to take these people in and not just get the transaction today. My real goal is to get them so excited that they become a past client, then they start referring me, because I know my past client database is the easiest business and it's my future. You have a big enough past client database, you don't have to do any more prospecting out there. Everything just goes really smooth. All right, with that in mind, let's now answer your question, the referral productivity percentages that I've seen out there in the market. And I've been very fortunate to talk to a lot of top agents, but also in the last year and a half or so, I've been talking to a lot of what I call regular agents, folks that are knocking down, 4 closings a year, 10, 20, 30, 40. They're somewhere in that stage. They're typically solo agents. And I've also talked to some top solo agents, which is a lot of fun too. The numbers that are popping out are this. If you have a database and you're working it, okay, even if you're working it poorly, but you have a database, but you're working it poorly, it seems to pop out around 5% a year. What I mean by that is if you have a database of 100 people and you're working it, again, not the greatest, but you're working it, then about 5 closings per year should come out of that database. That's about what I'm finding when I talk to people. Now, I'm going to go to the other end of the spectrum. If I talk to, say, a top solo agent who's very focused on repeat and referrals, and we look at their database and we look at the number of referral closings they get per year, their percentage is much higher. It's typically around 20%, somewhere around 19, 20, 21, 22. That's kind of the ballpark of where I've been finding their number popping out. It's really surprised me that there's so many clustered there. And so if you're anywhere in between there, you're doing pretty good. So that's why I recommend to folks that they focus on creating a plan. First, get your database. Then when you create your plan to layer over it, and your objective should be to hit around 10%. 10% of that list should turn into closed repeat and referrals out of that group. So again, if you have 100 people in your group, you should have 10 closings coming out of there year after year after year after year. To finalize that, I'll tell you that, and open up your mind a little bit, I do know a top agent who personally was closing 34% year after year. He's just phenomenal, but he's an anomaly. But that's like a third of the list, which is crazy. But the really, really good ones that I know that focus on this, they can hit 20. The people who are just getting in it, toying around with it, trying to make it work, they're probably around 5. So if you set up your expectation to hit around 10, you're doing pretty good. I know another guy flashed into my head. He did part-time for 3 years, went full-time for a year. And this year that he went full-time, he hit 12% out of his list. So I hope that helps, Brian. Was that an answer to your question?
Yeah, it is. And when you say your database, is that database just past clients, or is that past clients and people that you have, introduced yourself and, said, hey, would love to add to my database. I've got these postcards I sent out, email, newsletters, things like that. So can you just explain that real quick?
You betcha. And good questions. Thank you. So when I'm talking about your database, I am talking about a very specific group. And thank you for asking. I'm talking about what I call PCSOI. PCSOI. I don't know if I was the first one to throw it together like that, but that's what it is. It's the past clients in your sphere of influence. And so it's a very special list, and people have to qualify to get into and onto that list. One qualification is they are a past client. They have done a transaction with you. They come in. They're, again, your best refers. You want them in this database, this group or subsection of your overall CRM. The next group is the SOI, your sphere of influence. And these are your friends and family and acquaintances but they have to be qualified. And here's the qualification, what I call the SOI test. And that is that if you are walking down the aisle of the grocery store, right? You're just grabbing stuff off the shelf and you're trying to feed the family, you're grabbing things, and somebody starts walking towards you the other direction on the aisle, and you look up and they look up, if you would recognize them and you could start a conversation with them and they would recognize you and start a conversation with you, they passed the SOI test. Now they should be part of this PCSOI. So it's not just a raw lead. It's not a raw database. Like, let's say you're in a church, right? Brian, I know you are part of a church. If you are in a church and there are 1,000 people in the church, it's not going to grab the 1,000 people on the roster of the church and throw them into your database. That doesn't work. We're talking about people you have a connection with. You know them, they know you, you'd recognize each other in the grocery store. Those people do go on the list. You've already established that relationship. And keep in mind, it's a continuum, right? Your spouse is your super close in that relationship, right? The tightest. And then it kind of spreads out from there. It kind of goes out in a concentric circle. But my stop point is that you can't recognize them or remember their name, and they can't recognize you and can't remember your name. They don't go on this list. They might go on a different list. Okay, so in your database, you have different types of business. They might go on a different list in your CRM. But this one's a special list. It's the most powerful one you're ever going to get. And that's this PCSOI. It's going to be the most fruitful thing you've ever done. And it's completely worth it. Did that help the qualification?
Yeah, it sure did, Mike. And just real quick, when you're talking about referrals, I'm one of those guys that doesn't really enjoy asking for referrals. I don't know, something about it. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. A lot of people are very successful with it. So what I've been doing is, especially given this current market, just for example, here in Edmond, which is a suburb of North Oklahoma City, and there's the town I live in is about 115,000. So right now, I just checked this morning, we had 275 houses for sale. 3 years ago, we had almost 900. Okay, so when I call people and in a roundabout way, I do ask for a referral. I say, hey, I know what's going on in the market, but just to give you an idea of how tight the inventory is, I cite those numbers and just say, listen, I'm dealing with the same thing that every other real estate agent is dealing with. We have buyers, but we have no inventory. So if you know of anybody that's considering selling, I've got buyers that are ready to buy, and I would just appreciate you letting me know. And I don't even bring in the word referral because I don't know, for whatever reason, I just don't like that word, or it just doesn't resonate with me. But but that's been working for me. So
love it. I love Brian. That's great. That's what this mastermind's all about. And hearing you talk, it reminded me of a couple of things. One is Willie Miranda. We're going to be doing the Agent Success Summit here coming up. And I talked to Willie, and he's got a program out there that he calls We Got the Buyers. We Got the Buyers. The old one, We Got the Beef. We Got the Buyers. And he's been having a lot of success with that. The other thing that I hear, and I want to mention to you and everyone else, is you're taking an indirect approach, right? It's an indirect approach. The direct approach is, hey, Brian, this is Mike. Good to hear from you. By the way, are you thinking about moving in the next 6 months? Right? That's direct. The indirect is, hey, Brian, this is Mike. Boy, we got this really challenging market. Do you know of anyone who's thinking about moving in the next 6 months? Do you know of anyone? And then you can start going down a list. People you work with, or people you go to church with, or people do your hobby. I'm mountain biking. You do mountain biking with. So that's the indirect. And what I'm hearing from you is it's much easier for you to do the indirect approach, and it's been fruitful. Yes?
Yes, it has. I haven't got a ton of business, but it is planting the seed with a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Wow, I didn't know inventory was, I knew it was tight, but when you throw those kind of numbers out, the light bulb goes off. And obviously we also talk about the increase in home prices and have do you know the value of your house today, versus 2 or 3 years ago when you bought it? So it's starting conversations. And so I think for me, I think what it is planting seeds so that when they do hear somebody that's selling their house, who, hopefully they're going to think of me and then give me the lead or give me a call. So
Brian, that was perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking, is that you're planting that seed for future business. What you've done is you provided value to these folks in the form of information. You could have mailed that out. You could have sent it by email. You chose the best, strongest communication method, which is direct. In this case, it's over the phone. The only thing better than that would have been in person. If you bumped into someone in person, you can do this exact same script. Hey, do you know what's happening in the market? Here's some stats, do. And that's helpful to them at the time, especially if you don't know what they actually need. That would be the best. You find out they need a plumber, then you could give them the name of a plumber. And by the way, that might be something you throw out in the conversation, which is, oh, by the way, if you need a name of any tradespeople, please let me know. I've got a whole list I'd be happy to provide you with. And that's just another piece of value. Your value dripping on the folks. And also you're tying in, I like the way you're approaching it, because you're tying in not only value, but real estate value. They're connecting Brian Jackson's name with real estate.
You brought up a great point, Mike, with the whole vendor thing. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. I do that with other folks as well. Like I ran into a guy the other day that had a couple 2 to 3 rental homes. And I said, hey, I understand, with, rental homes, obviously repairs and different things, go wrong with the houses and stuff. And I've got a real lengthy list of vendors that I use: plumbers, electrical, roofing, all that kind of stuff. So if you ever need any help, let me know. And I can provide you with some great contractors. Again, we didn't talk about selling this house. I just tried to add value to his business, which is rental homes. So
that's awesome. I love it. And remember, when you do all this, I want you to think about it as though you're making a deposit. Maybe when we were kids, if you took a coin and you're dropping it at a piggy bank, right? And that piggy bank is going to grow in value. Every time you make one of these contacts, touch base, give a value, as far as information, you're building up the goodwill. That was the old term, right? The old days, this goodwill out in the community. And that's going to come back to you, because you know what's going to happen. A week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks down the line, that same person's going to either decide they need some help, or they're going to bump into someone who does, and they're going to go, oh, I was just talking to that guy. He knew so much about those stats. What was his name? And at that point, you want to make sure you're in touch with them enough that they go, oh, yeah, it was Brian. It was Brian Jackson, right?
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Appreciate the feedback.
You bet you, Brian. Thank you. That was good info. All right, looks like we got time for maybe one more. If anyone's got anything. If you got a question, a concern, a piece of advice you want to give on anything you've heard today, a success story you want to share. I'm looking at some of the people I have in here, and this is phenomenal. We got some really awesome, strong agents. If y'all want to give any advice or throw anything out, please feel free to do. I know we got some strong referral agents here on the call. Anything about referrals, past clients, sphere of influence, opening this up for the group. Go ahead and unmute yourself and shout out if you have anything you'd like like us to focus our mastermind on, or something you'd like to share with the group. Well, I'm going to conclude then that we had a great session. This was a lot of fun. Let me just ask real quickly for the folks that are here. This is the first time we tried this in this format, with an open format. Did you enjoy this? If yes, I can't see everybody's faces, but you can give me a thumbs up, or you can unmute and tell me whether you think it was worthwhile.
This is Brian, Mike. Yeah, I think it's definitely worthwhile. I love hearing from other realtors what they're doing. I mean, that's where I get most of my learning, just hearing other experienced realtors tell how they've been successful. So
Awesome. Awesome, Brian. And I love your track that you're on. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Dave, thank you for sharing today all your information. I appreciate it and your thoughts. And I'm trying to remember the other gal's name. Was it Jacqueline? I think it was Jacqueline. It looks like she's left us. But Jacqueline, thank you for coming in and sharing with us. Well, I'm going to wrap this session up for today. We'll look at doing it again. I was thinking we might do this on a weekly basis if folks liked it. So I'll go ahead and probably throw that out there for next week, same time, same place. I'll send out an email so you know, but you might want to write that in your calendar, and we'll have another mastermind. Think about any challenge you run into this week and throwing it out to the mastermind group and getting some solid feedback. Well, again, thank you everybody for meeting us with us today in this mastermind. I hope you have a fantastic week and a really strong week and keep moving forward. All right, take care.